Democrats need to get their shit together because we need two parties in this country, and we desperately need the one that still concedes elections, doesn't sell the office, and doesn't want to completely switch out democratic rule of law for a rubber-stamped autocracy. But that party is so fucked up right now, and nothing, to me, symbolized that more than this video. I would love to have AOC on the show, and Mandami and Elizabeth Warren, but I can't subpoena the guests. And I can't fix that what the Democrats are scared of more than anything else, I mean, obviously besides gluten, is being primaried from the far left, even though most Democrats are not far left. They're mild-mannered and moderate, at least at my bathhouse.
So here's the deal, folks. Bill Maher just went off on Democrats again, and honestly, he might have hit the nail right on the head this time. Love him or hate him, the man has this uncanny ability to say the stuff everyone else is too afraid to say out loud. And in this case, he didn't just call out the Democratic Party for being weak. He basically compared them to Donald Trump. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. Maher's point is simple but brutal. Democrats have become so terrified of the woke mob that they can't even stand on their own 2 feet anymore. They're petrified of getting primaried from the left. So instead of leading, they tiptoe around every little issue, hoping not to upset the Twitter crowd. And here's the kicker. He argues that makes them weaker than Trump. Think about that for a second. We're talking about a guy who had scandal after scandal, mugshot, lawsuits, and somehow he never flinched. He didn't hide. He didn't cower. He didn't pretend to be something he wasn't. He owned it. And people respected that, even if they didn't like him.
Having sex with Stormy Daniels was wrong, but Trump didn't hide from the camera. Quite the opposite. It looks like he said to the photographer, "Widen that out so you can get these tits." He's got his mugshot hanging outside the Oval Office. He's literally got a guy working for him named Big Balls. It's like if Gavin Newsom had a henchman named Perfect Hair.
Meanwhile, Democrats act tough when it comes to Trump. Oh, they'll scream about him all day. But when it comes to standing up to the woke mob in their own party, they suddenly turn into nervous little chickens, clucking about unity, while they hand over the steering wheel to the most radical voices in the room. And Maher's basically saying, if you can't even stand up to your own side, how are you supposed to lead the country? Now, I know some people are going to get triggered by that comparison. How dare you say Trump is braver than Democrats? But let's be real for a second. Trump, for all his faults, of which there are plenty, never tried to appease the woke mob. In fact, he ran against it. He mocked them. He promised to take them on directly. And whether you loved him or couldn't stand him, that directness is what won him votes. Meanwhile, Democrats are bending over backwards to please the very activists who are dragging them down. And surprise, surprise, it's not working.
People ask me all the time, why haven't you ever had Hillary or Bill Clinton on? Why didn't you have Kamala on during the last campaign? You think we don't ask? We ask these people every week. They say no. It took 8 years and a petition to get Obama on. And these are people, all people I voted for. Think about that. They're afraid to come on the show of a guy who voted for them. The Republicans, they show up. And when they do, they take their beating like a man.
Here's where it gets interesting. Maher pointed out something a lot of people haven't noticed. Republicans actually show up when he invites them on his show. They walk into the lion's den knowing they're going to get roasted, and they take it. And when they do, the audience, even Maher's mostly liberal crowd, claps for them. That's right. The audience of a left-leaning comedian sometimes ends up applauding Republicans for having the guts to show up and take their beating. Meanwhile, Democrats run. They duck the invite. They dodge the questions. They hide. And if that's not humiliating, I don't know what is. Think about this. AOC, Elizabeth Warren, Ilhan Omar, the whole squad, they'll sit down for a TikTok interview with some influencer in rainbow hair, but they won't face Maher. Why? Because Maher doesn't let you get away with slogans. He'll poke holes in your talking points. He'll ask the questions you don't want to answer. And they know their narrative can't survive that kind of pressure. So they stay in their echo chambers, where every radical idea gets applause. And honestly, that says it all. If your ideas can't survive outside a bubble, maybe they're not as strong
As
as you think.
I would love to have AOC on the show, and Mandami and Elizabeth Warren, but I can't subpoena the guests. And I can't fix that what the Democrats are scared of more than anything else, I mean, obviously besides gluten, is being primaried from the far left, even though most Democrats are not far left. They're mild-mannered and moderate, at least at my bathhouse.
But let's back up a second, because Maher also made a bigger point here, something we really need to talk about. He said America needs two strong parties, not one. Not a rubber stamp autocracy. Two parties. Because a country with only one functioning party isn't a democracy. It's a dictatorship in making. But here's the tragedy. The Democrats, the party that's supposed to be the sane alternative, the one that at least concedes elections and doesn't sell out the rule of law, that party is falling apart. And what's killing them? Fear. Plain and simple. They're afraid of backlash. They're afraid of Twitter mobs. They're afraid of activists with megaphones. They're afraid of being called names. So instead of showing leadership, they just fold.
Their shit together, because we need two parties in this country, and we desperately need the one that still concedes elections, doesn't sell the office, and doesn't want to completely switch out democratic rule of law for a rubber-stamped autocracy. But that party is so fucked up right now, and nothing, to me, symbolized that more than this video.
And Maher isn't the only one who sees it. Look around. Every time a Democrat tries to say something even slightly reasonable, like, hey, maybe biological men shouldn't compete against women in sports, boom, they're canceled. Their staff quits. Their allies abandon them. Suddenly, they're compared to Nazis. I mean, come on. That's not just extreme, it's insane.
Massachusetts Congressman Seth Moulton had a perfect score on LGBTQ issues from the Human Rights Campaign. But when he said, I have two little girls, I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete, his own campaign manager quit. And the chair of the Salem Democratic City Committee, Liz Bratt, accused Moulton of being, quote, what is known as a cooperator in Nazi times. Yeah, I think the word you're looking for, moron, is collaborator. And I'm guessing everything you know about Nazi times comes from TikTok.
And here's where Maher really twists the knife. He says, Democrats aren't just weak. They're hypocrites. They talk endlessly about tolerance and diversity of thought. But the second someone in their own camp thinks differently, the knives come out. And this isn't coming from conservatives. This is coming from one of their own, a guy who's voted blue his entire life. When your own side is saying you've lost the plot, maybe it's time to listen.
If there is one practical thing that Democrats can do right now that would help them regain power, it's never speak to Trump in person. No, I'm kidding. That's stupid. No, it's this. Inspire your moderates to vote in the primaries. Get that base excited. You have the numbers. After Congressman Moulton made his comment about his daughter not getting run over, he added, but as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. Well, then change what you're supposed to be afraid of.
Now let's have some real talk. One of the weirdest things about the woke left is this obsession with giving kids the keys to the car. Remember, when adults used to be the voices of reason? Parents would actually tell their kids, no, that's ridiculous. That's not how the world works. Well, not anymore. Now the kids say something absurd like, gender is a social construct, and instead of pushing back, the parents say, you're right, honey. Here's a TikTok account to spread it. And then that nonsense becomes policy. That's how insane it's gotten. And Maher calls it out in the most brutal way possible. Democrats are afraid of their own kids. They're terrified of telling them no. They're terrified of saying you're wrong. And so the kids end up running the show.
Masking 2-year-olds who never would have died from it and keeping schools closed for far too long. They're definitely afraid of their kids, who from time immemorial have always come up with bad ideas. They're kids. Thinking up stupid shit is what they do. But parents used to tell them, that's ridiculous. The world doesn't work that way. Not today's parents. They say, you're right, honey. Gender is just a social construct. Please, sometimes your mother and I forget which one of us has the dick.
And it's not just in politics. You see it in TV shows, movies, culture, everywhere. Suddenly, the kids are always the wise ones, and the adults are clueless buffoons. It's like the whole world got flipped upside down, and everyone's pretending that immaturity equals wisdom. But here's the thing, and this is where Maher is dead on. The Democrats are fueling their own collapse. They're not standing up to the rot. They're enabling it. Instead of leading with courage, they're drilling more holes in their own ship, all in the name of appeasement. And if they don't wake up, the very mob they fear is the one that's going to sink them.
I mean, I don't know if we're still banning TikTok. That was before we changed the rule in America to Trump decides what's a law. But I know it wouldn't even be an issue if parents would sack up and tell their kids to get off the fucking phone. Democrats are still afraid of the mean girls who police their far-out fringe.
Now, before anyone says I'm just shilling for Republicans, let's be clear. Maher isn't giving them a free pass. He calls them out too, especially on things like election denial and January 6th. He's not pretending they're saints. But here's the difference. Republicans, for all their flaws, actually show backbone. They'll stand there, take the criticism, and keep moving. They don't fold under every outrage cycle. And Maher says that kind of grit, that kind of unapologetic confidence, is exactly why they earn respect, even from their opponents. And honestly, he's right. Sometimes it takes your rivals to remind you what courage actually looks like.
The reason Gretchen Whitmer looked like a toddler playing peekaboo in the Oval Office is she's afraid of the Liz Bratts of the world and the 12 social justice warriors on the internet and what they might tweet to their 7 followers. Alyssa Slotkin calls her party weak and woke. She's right. People vote on instinct. They can smell fear a swing state away, and they'd rather have strong and wrong.
The reason Gretchen Whitmer looked like a toddler playing peekaboo in the Oval Office is she's afraid of the Liz Bratzes of the world and the 12 social justice warriors on the internet, and what they might tweet to their 7 followers. Alyssa Slotkin calls her party weak and woke. She's right. People vote on instinct. They can smell fear a swing state away, and they'd rather have strong and wrong.